it causes anxiety. It causes fear, and it's now starting to show that people become suicidal while on it. Welcome to the Health Quest Podcast, your guide to God's will for good health. Hello, my name is Dr. Sal, and I've been a practicing doctor and surgeon for well over 30 years. And my goal for each episode is that you'll be able to transform your mind to God's design for your good health, as well as affect the way that you eat and the way that you live. If you're new here, we release a new episode every week, and if you enjoy the content, would you please leave us a good review? It really helps our ratings and allows our show to reach more people, which in turn, we can help more people change their ways. I'd like to thank you for your support. And in today's episode, we're going to be basically taking a compilation of previous episodes and previous podcasts that talk about a variety of different subject matters that you'll be able to extract information that may be useful for you. You may not have to go back to the original podcast to listen, or you can go back to the original podcast to get more information, but just taking that little bit of an information, you can now implement it into your daily life habits and then get more of the information as to the understanding behind it all. And with that, please enjoy today's episode of our compilation of previous podcasts. Our next question comes from Patrick from Dearborn, and he was saying, Dr. Sal, I go out and I read these labels on these packages, but I never really know what's really good. How can I approach this so that I can get better quality foods to eat or to even snack on? You know, with me and my approach on a lot of this stuff is that I always shop on the periphery of the grocery store because that's where you're going to get your fruits and vegetables, your meats, your dairy products, your eggs, the kind of stuff that you basically have to go home and you have to cook it yourself. Everything that's in the aisles are always packaged in boxes, bags, and a lot of this stuff is not only processed, but they got food colorings, they've got additives to them. You know, the only thing that you can maybe get from when you buy a vegetable is maybe the pesticides that are on them, and hopefully you can wash as much of that as possible unless you buy it organic. But there is an application that you can get in your app store, and it's called Yucca, or some people call it Yucca. It's Y-U-K-A, and it comes with a little carrot symbol. And it's free. And what you do is you scan the barcode, and that application will tell you if that product is even good to eat. And if it says don't eat it, it'll give you a recommendation towards another product that's similar, that's much better or healthier for you. Now, of course, you know, I'm the paleo diet written by Dr. Cordain, and he advises to stay away from wheat. A lot of people like to eat snacks, and they want the little crackers and, you know, the Ritz crackers as well, your bread products. But there are some products out there that they don't have these genetically modified wheat products. And so the Yucca will actually help you determine how to stay away from certain products and maybe use something else as a substitute from doing that. So I think it's a great app to have. This way, you know, even if you take a look at the ingredients and the instructions, you know, it's very, very limited. You know, they tell you how much protein, how much fat, how many carbohydrates, and they talk about dietary fiber, okay? But they talk about the fats, and then they'll always say zero trans fats on the container or the box or whatever you're purchasing on the label. And you got to be careful with that too, because it could be zero trans fat when it's on the shelf. But the minute you take and consume that food and digest it and metabolize it, that trans fat can now be converted into that zero trans fat can now be converted into a trans fat once it gets into your body. I'll give you an example. A number of years ago, a lot of cardiologists were recommending canola oil. And they were saying, oh, it's a zero trans fat. It's a better, healthier oil to use. Then a lot of these companies were using it, saying, well, it's a better oil than to have soybean oil or hydrogenated oils, which you should stay completely away from those. That's why I stay away from peanut butter, because if you get Jif or some of the other peanut butters, you'll see that it's hydrogenated oils that it's mixed in with, bad for your arteries. I'm always recommending, and on top of that, peanuts are basically legumes. They're genetically modified. I'm always advocating almond butter or some of the other butters, and you'll always see that it's separated from the oil, that you got to mix it up. That's just the way it was back in the old days. Hydrogenated oils work into the butter itself. You don't have to mix it, but it's not that good. Same thing with reading a label that says zero trans fat while it's on the shelf, of course, but then when you ingest it, metabolize it, it turns into a trans fat. Canola oil is one of them. So these are some of the ways that this Yucca app can actually help you determine if something really is good for you. Because you got to remember something, and I'll mention this and I'll talk about this time and time again. A sugar isn't a sugar, a carbohydrate isn't a carbohydrate, a fat isn't a fat. And what I mean by that, there are good fats and bad fats. There are good sugars and bad sugars. Now, when I say good sugars, what's a good sugar? Your vegetables. Those are carbs, but the type of carbohydrates are mostly fibrous, which is healthy for your gut, the bacteria in your gut, and everything else in your body too as well. So Yucca helps you to determine if you like something. Scan the barcode. It'll give you much more detail as to what's really in that food, and it will tell you whether it's good for you or you should consume it or not. And if it's not, it makes a recommendation to something that you can eat that's actually healthier for you. So, Patrick, I hope I answered your question. I hope that actually works for you. Like I said, it's free. Just download it from your app store, okay? Okay, so the next question, it was sent in from Karen from Houston, Texas. Dr. Sal, I want to lose 40 pounds, and I noticed that a lot of my friends are now taking the Ozempic to lose the weight. I've tried everything else, and nothing seems to work. I would like to take the Ozempic, and I'd like to ask your opinion as to what you think of it. There's no thinking on this one, folks. This is basically a no-no, and I'm going to tell you why. Ozempic is used as a medication to treat type 2 diabetes. And really, the true treatment to type 2 diabetes is to get off of all your carbs and all your sugars and start getting on an exercise program. That's the ultimate cure for it. We believe that, we're told all this, or we create this idea that it's genetic and it's hereditary and it's all, it's your hormones. That's not the case. It's the way we're eating. Now, the problem with Ozempic is that it is a synthetic form of a natural hormone that's produced in our intestinal lining called semaglutide. And semaglutide is like leptin that we talked about in our previous podcast. Leptin is the hormone that's secreted by the fat cells that tells our body that we've eaten enough, stop eating, we're full, we don't need to eat for another 6 hours or so. Semaglutide does the same thing. When we eat, the intestinal lining secretes it, and it goes to the brain, and it tells our hunger centers of the brain that we don't need to eat anymore, we're completely full. So Ozempic is basically a synthetically modified version of semaglutide. And as a result of that, this is where all the side effects come in. Because if you take the natural form of semaglutide, which you can get the natural form. Now, it's not FDA approved, and it can't be FDA approved because of the fact that it's a naturally occurring product, and naturally occurring products cannot be FDA approved, or you can't get a patent on it. Pharmaceutical companies modify the molecule. It's a modified version of semaglutide, and now they're saying, okay, this is what you use for diabetics, but now everybody's on it because they want to lose the weight. What does it do, and how does it react? It basically suppresses your appetite. A number of years ago, we had a number of appetite suppressants, of which were taken off the market because of the complications. The only thing we have left is Adipex, and it works as a stimulant, which curtails your appetite. Well, that's what semaglutide does. It increases your insulin levels, which then over time is going to create more insulin resistance. And so you're going to still be type 2 diabetic anyways, or eventually get there faster. What semaglutide does is it decreases your appetite. But what do they tell you not to do? Well, don't eat greasy fried foods, which we talked about on one of our podcasts, because those are trans fats, which causes atherosclerosis, right? The healthy fats, even if you eat fat from a cow or animal fat or butter or milk fat, those are not bad for you. And Dr. Kumro back in the 50s proved that. So they're telling you not to eat fried foods, which we advocate to do that just to lose weight and for good overall cardiovascular health. Number 2, they tell you not to eat sugary foods or drinks. Well, if that's the case, and you got rid of the bad fats and the sugary foods and the carbohydrates like starchy vegetables like corn and potatoes, guess what? You're just going to lose weight naturally. The key is that how do you deal with the hunger pains? Folks, this is where you line up your will with God's will. Because by knowing that what you're doing is healthy for you and this is what God wants for you, because good health comes at a price, and that is you can't eat that junk food. You know, the problem is that we're eating throughout the day and we don't even know that we're eating that stuff. I heard the old line, I eat like a bird. And we used to say, 24 hours a day. And you're going to put on weight. I put on weight just looking at water. All right. Let's put you in an environment where that's all we feed you is water for 40 days, and we'll see if you don't lose weight. So the problem here is getting through the hunger issues. And what I try to tell everybody to do is when you get hungry, go take a walk, go do some push-ups, go do something to preoccupy your mind. On top of that, you're doing some exercise, which is actually beneficial to your body. So the idea that to take something like that, when you could take the natural, and there are alternative physicians out there that use the natural semaglutide, but then again, the beauty of that is they know how to put you on other supplements that works with a semaglutide, like resveratrol, certain B vitamins like vitamin B6, and also taking some extra NMN, which is your nicotinamide mononucleotide, which helps improve the energy levels. Resveratrol is protective against breast cancer as well. And now what you've done is you've reduced your appetite naturally with the supplements, increasing metabolism using natural supplements. So that would be the way to go. What are the side effects of the Ozempic? Well, number one, it slows down the gut as far as sending food. So now people are becoming constipated and they get impacted. So what do you have to do when you get impacted? Well, you're going to have to get some enemas, or somebody's going to have to go up there with a finger, which I've done years ago when I was in general surgery, especially these elderly people, because you got to pull that stuff out of there. It's so impacted. It's like a rock. They're like bricks trying to get that out of there. But more so than that, when it starts to slow it down, what ends up happening is that the more fecal material you hold on to for a longer period of time, the more toxins you're going to reabsorb and get back into the system. So doing that is not healthy. Some of the other side effects is that it affects the pancreas and the gallbladder. So a lot of these people end up having gallbladder and pancreatic, especially pancreatitis. And the reason being is because it's trying to stimulate your pancreas to put out more insulin to lower your blood sugar levels. And that's how we treat the so-called type 2 diabetes. But overall, the more insulin you start to secrete over time, that's going to eventually result in insulin resistance, which is going to lead to type 2 diabetes anyways. There is an ongoing process right now with a lawsuit that they're trying to build up because the people that developed all these gastrointestinal type of side effects, that they want to sue the company. But why even go there? And I told somebody they didn't need it. They went and they took it anyways. And now, I want to sue them. Well, it was your fault for taking it because you're the one that finally makes that decision in the end to take it. The other thing is the psychological impact that it has. It causes anxiety. It causes fear. And it's now starting to show that people become suicidal while on it. Why do you want to, again, take something that just to lose some weight when all you got to do is do what bodybuilders do? We diet and we exercise like crazy to get rid of all that fat and maintain all that muscle mass. Now you could say, well, yeah, but they take anabolic steroids. Okay, but they're still working hard. You could take all the anabolic steroids you want, but if you're going to eat garbage food, you're still going to look fat. And so you're not going to have those well-defined muscles by eating junk food. You have to diet and you have to exercise. And the best way to go is to learn how to do this because, again, when you face those challenges, remember what we talked about. It resets your whole neural network. And this is how the Holy Spirit works through us physiologically. I'm explaining it scientifically, how the Holy Spirit, you're facing your fears, you're facing your challenges, you're taking on the challenges, and you're doing everything in a disciplined fashion. Of course, we use the word discipline because that's God's D word, and Satan's D word is distraction, constantly getting distracted. You're not even paying attention and you're putting food in your mouth. So if you start to become aware and you become cognizant and you become conscious of what you're doing and realize that you're doing it because you're taking care of the gift of life that God gave you, now you put yourself on the path to resetting your neural networks, creating new habits which are actually healthier for you than to go off and take some pharmaceutical drug, because it's a drug. I don't care if you call it medicine, it's a drug. To lose weight, which should be something that should be natural for us, knowing that, first of all, you should have never gotten 40, 50 pounds overweight. You should have never gotten 120 pounds overweight. So you've got to take a look at saying, what am I doing here and what am I taking? One of the other things I wanted to say, too, that it also has a high incidence of thyroid tumors. So now you want to mess up your thyroid gland. So, folks, Karen, you do not have my blessings on taking Ozempic. Find an alternative doctor that can give you the natural semaglutide. Of course, he's going to put you on a diet and other supplements that go along with it to improve your metabolism. Get into the habit of eating well and exercising regularly. When you start noticing you put on a couple of extra pounds, that means you got to cut back on the food intake over the next couple of days. See that as your bank account. Don't spend more than you're saving. It's going to get you into trouble. In this particular case, don't eat more than your body really needs and eat the healthy stuff and stay away from the junk food. Folks, there's no better way to stay close with God than to realize that your gift that you have every morning when you wake up, that you are breathing, that your heart is pumping that blood throughout your body, that your kidneys are functioning properly, that your gastrointestinal system is moving all that toxic waste out of you, as well as digesting the foods and monitoring your health through the gut bacteria. These are the gifts that were given to us. And I can go on and on and on with 100 trillion different cells and the reactions that take place, all controlled by the Creator. I mean, this is the real miracle, and we should be grateful for it, but we should also take care of it through our own volition, our own will, lined up with that of God's. Doing that, I guarantee you, you'll be happier, you'll develop better quality skills in maintaining your health, you'll change your life, your outlook will be that much better. This is the whole objective of the podcast. So I want to thank you very much for joining us and watching our show today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a good review and visit our website and social media accounts to connect with us more. If you happen to have any questions about your health regarding this episode, my email will be in the description below, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. And if you would like to see any of the sources of research in this episode, it will be available to you in the show notes in the description. Until next time, I'm Dr. Sal. Have a great day, and God bless.